Hi friends, in the last session I have explained about EK space environment and the relation between energy and momentum in a semiconductor environment. By going a little bit away from your syllabus, beyond your syllabus, bringing something from quantum mechanics, solid state electronics, and based on de Broglie concepts with the dual nature of light, we tried to understand the concept of EK space. And with that EK space, in the current session today, we will try to understand the band gaps types in semiconductors, namely direct semiconductor band gap and indirect semiconductor band gap. Now, in that, the first one is direct gap semiconductors. So, what is meant by direct band gap means? Now, let us understand. So in EK space, so you have an idea about EK space, what is meant by EK space now. That's the reason you might have realized why I have explained EK space earlier. So the minimum of conduction band lies directly above the maximum of valence band. If that is the situation in the EK space, then that band is what is known, that gap is what is known as direct band gap. So what happens in a direct band gap semiconductor is the electrons at the conduction band minimum can combine directly with the holes at the valence band maximum while conserving the momentum. Momentum is always conserved. What happens is electrons at the conduction band minimum, they can combine directly with the holes at the valence band maximum. So gallium arsenide is the example. Look at this diagram. So, in a direct band gap means minimum of conduction band lies directly above the maximum of valence band in the EK space. So, in a direct band gap semiconductor, electrons at the conduction band minimum can combine directly with the holes at the valence band maximum. So, the energy of recombination across the band gap will be emitted in the form of a photon light. The energy of because there is a recombination takes place. So whenever the electrons at the conduction band minimum can combine with the holes at the valence band maximum, the energy of the recombination across the band gap will be emitted in the form of photon, light particle. So this is a radiative recombination. Therefore, it is also called spontaneous emission. So direct band gap semiconductor, if you want to see, the best example is gallium arsenide, which is commonly used in laser diodes. This is about direct band gap. Let us see what is indirect band gap. So it is quite opposite to direct band gap because not all semiconductor materials have their minimum of conduction band above the top of the valence band in EK space. So these materials are known as indirect semiconductors. For example, something like silicon, germanium, etc. So in indirect band gap, there is a band gap in which the minimum energy in the conduction band is shifted by k vector relative to the valence band. The k vector difference represents difference in moments, like this. So minimum energy in the conduction band is shifted by k vector relative to valence band. If you see the band structure, something like this. So semiconductors that have an indirect band gap, like in the case of silicon or germanium, they are inefficient at emitting light. They cannot emit light because any electrons present in the conduction band quickly settle into the energy minimum of that band. So electrons in this minimum require some source of momentum, allowing them to overcome the offset and fall into the valence band. Photons have very little momentum compared to this energy offset. Because the electrons cannot rejoin the valence band by radioactive recombination, conduction band electrons last quite some time before recombining through less efficient methods. So the non-radiative, that is the indirect recombination, takes place at point defects or at grain boundaries in silicon like in crystals. So the indirect non-radiative recombination takes place at point defects or at grain boundaries in silicon. So if the excited electrons are prevented from reaching these recombination places, they will fall back into the valence band by radiative recombination. So in this, the absorption of light at an indirect gap is much weaker than a direct gap. Because in the emission process, both the loss of conservation of energy and conservation of momentum, they must be observed. The only way to promote an electron from the top of the valence band to the bottom of the conduction band is to simultaneously emit or absorb a phonon that compensates for the missing momentum vector. But however, such a combined transition has a much lower probability. So the absorption of an indirect band gap material usually depends on more on the temperature than that of the direct material, because at low temperature phonons are not available for recombination process. So therefore you can calculate phonon energy using the formula from this as something like this. Here E phonon is nothing but energy of the phonon and h nu is the energy of the emitted photon. Okay, if you want to compare these two, both direct and indirect, so by combining these two, let us compare. Look at the direct band gap diagram. So in this band diagram, the minimum of energy of conduction band and maximum of energy of valence band have got same value of the wave vector here. Right? If you see this one, here in the band diagram, so minimum of energy of conduction band and maximum energy of valence band having different values of wave vector. Wave vector value is same here in this case. Here the wave vector value is different. Similarly, if you look at the direct band gap, an electron from the conduction band can recombine with the hole in the valence band directly emitting a light of photon of h nu. Whereas in this case, an electron from the conduction band can recombine with a hole in the valence band indirectly through the gaps, through the traps, indirectly through the traps. Here, there is emission of photon along with phonon. So the emission of phonon leading to the rise of temperature of the material. If you look at direct band gap, recombination time, what we call as lifetime of charge carriers, is very less. Here, lifetime of charge carrier is more. Here in direct band gap, due to emission of light of photon during the recombination of charge carriers, these are used to fabricate LEDs and laser diodes. Here, due to longer lifetime of charge carriers, these are used to amplify the signals, as in the case of diodes and transistors. Direct band gap, if you see, these are all mostly from compound semiconductors. Here, these are elementary one. These are mostly from elemental semiconductors. For example, if you take this one, phosphorus, gallium arsenide, etc., can be quoted as example here. Whereas here, you can use silicon and germanium, etc. This is how you can distinguish between direct band gap semiconductor and indirect band gap semiconductor. Right? Having understood the distinction between direct band gap semiconductors and indirect band gap semiconductors, let us understand something called equation of continuity in semiconductors. So what is this equation basically? This equation controls or governs the behavior of charge carriers inside a semiconductor. So how the charge carriers inside a semiconductor are controlled, who controls them? That fellow is what is known as equation of continuity. Therefore, we can define equation of continuity as governing equation or equation governing the behavior of charge carriers in a semiconductor. It gives the condition of dynamic equilibrium for the density of charge carriers in any elementary volume of a semiconductor. Using this, you can find the dynamic equilibrium condition for the density of charge carriers. This is based on the fact that law of conservation of charge. You already are familiar with Einstein law of conservation of mass, law of conservation of energy. It is something analogous to that. So this is based on the main fact that charge can neither be created nor destroyed. So let us see how it can be understood. This is what I have explained just now. So equation of continuity is nothing but it is an equation that is governing the behavior of charge carriers in a semiconductor. It gives us the condition of dynamic equilibrium for the density of charge carriers in any elementary volume of a semiconductor. It is based on the fact that law of conservation of charge, that is, charge can neither be created nor destroyed. Now, based on this, we should recollect that the carrier concentration in a semiconductor is a function of both time and distance. To understand this equation, we will consider a unit area of a volume element in a YZ plane and the length along dx along x-axis. So we will take an average hole concentration in the volume element and proceed further. For that, consider a unit area of volume element like this in YZ plane. This is how the plane is taken. So we are considering a unit area of volume element in YZ plane and length dx along x-axis. Let P be the average hole concentration in the volume element. So if you see the volume element, the number of electrons entering into the volume, this is entry, this is exit. So into the volume element, if you say current due to holes that is entering in is IP, current density due to holes entering into volume element is JP. Similarly, from the volume element that is leaving out, current leaving out the volume element is IP plus DIP, and current density is JP plus DJP. That means the leaving current is more by DIP than entering current. Similarly, the leaving current density is more by DJP than entering current density. If this is understood, then we shall see. This is now what I have just now explained. Entering current is IP, leaving current is IP plus DIP. Similarly, current density due to holes while entering is JP and while leaving it is DJP. That means leaving current is more by excess of this. So that is what it means. Because the leaving current is more by DIP than elementary current, so the number of holes leaving the volume element in unit time is what? The density, extra density only, no? That is DJP. DJP by number of charge of an electron. Because leaving current is more than entering current. How much it is more? DIP. That means the volume element in unit, number of holes leaving the volume element in unit time is what? DJP by E, where E is the charge of hole. How this generation and recombination takes place? Let us see that. Let us suppose the number of holes generated in the volume element is equal to P0. Similarly, the time up to which a hole exists is TP or tau P, whatever you call. Therefore, you can calculate the generation rate of holes as a ratio of these two, P0 by tau P or P0 by TP. Similarly, the number of holes recombining in the volume element, we started with P, and recombination rate, therefore, you can calculate with time interval as P by tau P. Tau P or TP, whatever you call. Now, from these two, we can calculate the rate of change of hole concentration. How we will calculate the rate of concentration of change of hole concentration. That is nothing but derivative of this. So we can derivative of P with respect to time. That is dP by dt. One is P naught by Jp. The other is P by Jp. P naught by Tp and P by Tp. Therefore, if you take the LCM, you will get an expression like this. So this is the rate of change of hole concentration. In this situation, along x-axis, if you apply an electric field, then holes get drifted, and we can calculate the holes drift density also. So hole drift density, how do we calculate? This already we know. J drift equal to number of hole carrier concentration is P. This is the mobility of hole carrier concentration. This is the field. This is the charge of an electron. So therefore you can calculate drift current density. Similarly, diffusion current density also we can calculate. Due to hole concentration gradient, diffusion of hole takes place, and the diffusion current density also we can calculate like this. Due to hole concentration gradient, this is the hole concentration gradient, d by dx of P. Diffusion of holes takes place, and diffusion current can be calculated like this. Okay. Now we want to measure the total current density. Total current density is nothing but total current density due to holes. That is Jp we want to find out. That is J drift plus J diffusion of holes. That is sum of these two. So that is the next step we are doing. J drift plus J diffusion. So substitute these two values here. So you will get like this. Understood? Now with this background, if we look at the drift and diffusion of holes, the rate of change of hole concentration per unit length is the basis for this. So therefore, due to drift and diffusion of holes, the rate of change of hole concentration per unit length is taken as d by dt of P. Therefore, rate of increase of total number of holes in the volume element also you can calculate. So you can multiply this product with dx. It will give you the rate of increase of total number of holes in the volume element. So when the rate of increase of total number of holes in the volume element is this, then automatically that will be equal to drift due to holes. That means you can take 1 by E as common out. You can rewrite as like this. Rate of change of hole concentration per unit length can be written like this. Clear? In equation 4, we have calculated Jp value, this one. This value we will substitute in equation 5 here. So putting equation 4 value in equation 5, let us see what we will get. So when you substitute, this 1 by E into d by dx is common. Only thing is, instead of Jp, you will have this substituted value. Now having substituted, we will get dp by dt equal to minus 1 by E into d by dx as the common factor, and rest is Jp value, that is Ep mu Pe minus Edp dp by dx. Okay, so you can take the common thing out and rewrite as something like this. So this you can take it as common out. Okay. Now when you consider both generation and recombination process, what happens is, you already have seen earlier one equation. That equation I am bringing here. So that is equation 1. So the recombination and combination we have to take. By bringing this equation here, that is generation and recombination from equation 1 and 5, we can write dp by dt as p naught minus p by tau Tp minus 1 by E into this value, that is dJp by dx. So that you can simplify as, substitute this value straight away. So this is how you will get the generation and recombination result. This is in the case of holes. This is the continuity equation for holes. Similarly, you can get continuity equation for electrons also. Only difference is wherever you have P, you will get N. See that continuity equation for electrons. Here it is dP by dt, here it is dN by dt. Here it is P naught minus P, it is N naught minus N. Here it is tau P, here it is Tp or tau P, tau, Tn. Here mu P, you have mu N. You have your dP, you have dN. Here dP, you will have dN. You can d square P, here it is d square N. So same equation. These two are continuity equations for holes as well as electrons in a semiconductor, right? So with the help of this continuity equation, both in the case of electrons and holes, and with the idea of generation and recombination of electrons and holes, in the coming sessions, we shall see the construction and working principles of a light emitting diode, a photodiode, and a laser diode also. How the construction takes place, what is the working principle behind that, how it works, that is all depending on this equation of continuity as well as combination and recombination, generation and recombination processes. So that is what we are going to see in the next sessions, right?